Hey, happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to Drag Racing Live, rather, where we bench race with the world's top drag racers. My name's Bill. I'm here with John, and tonight we feature Mason McGaha, one of the NHRA Pro Stock's hardest working competitors, part of a true racing family legacy. They race alongside relatives and fight for every thousandth in one of drag racing's toughest classes. Mason brings tonight insight, honesty, and real lessons from the pro stock trenches. So, Mason, I'm putting you on the spot. Welcome to the show, Mason McGaha.
Hello, thank y'all for having me.
So great to have you on. And let's just talk. Let's start talking about the present. How would you sum up your most recent NHRA Pro Stock season, and where do you feel the program is right now?
We didn't have a super spectacular season. I wouldn't even really say our last two or three so seasons have been spectacular. Got races here and there where we run pretty good in qualifying and run good on race day and go some rounds, but just I guess what year are we in 2026 now and
Mm.
started in 2020 and we started off pretty good right off the bat in 20. We ran good. We didn't win a lot of rounds in 20, but felt like we ran relatively good at most of the races we went to. In 21, that was like my first full season because I was coming out of COVID, and that was probably by far my best season since I started driving and ran really good. I feel like a lot of those races and won a lot of rounds that year, and just I don't know, we haven't been able to replicate those first two seasons. And for 22, we did pretty good, and we kind of got lost a little bit there towards the end of the year. But I don't know, just the competition's gotten tighter, and there's something that we got to pick up on that everybody else has.
It's ridiculous how tight NHRA Pro Stock are these years. It's typically it feels like within a couple hundreds, right? No more than a tenth, it seems.
Oh yeah, I mean there gonna be some races where maybe you're I don't know like four or five hundredths from the top, and you're not even qualified, or you're right on the bump, and you're like, you know, you're talking about 400ths of a second from Greg Anderson, and everything they do and everything they got, and I mean I'm not complaining about that. I mean they worked hard, and you know I absolutely want to capture them, but it's like man, to think about you're only 400s behind them, that's pretty crazy, but it's also large in the drag
Right.
race world.
In pro stock, that could be well, it's not quite a car length probably, but it's close. But that's ridiculous how tight it is. Well, folks, we're here with NHRA Pro Stock racer Mason McGaha. Be sure to like and share. Get your questions ready for the Q&A session. Be coming up right about 8:30 Eastern time. So, Mason, we were just talking about this, but Pro Stock's brutally competitive and very unforgiving. What's been the biggest challenge for you personally in trying to move from solid contender to a consistent round winner?
Uh, I think like you said, consistent, just being consistent. You know, I feel like that was one thing we struggled with big time last year is we could kind of run good in qualifying, or at least have one or two good runs, and then on race day we would lose that and shake or do something dumb. And really, that was a combination of everybody. It wasn't like I was just me driving wise. I take the blame for some of that. I screwed up some of those rounds, and then we might go up there and shake, and it's just got lost on the setup, or I don't know, just we never could really on race day just go up there and hey, we're gonna get down. It seemed like we were always beating ourselves rather than whoever we were running beating us.
Well, that's tough. It is truly a team sport, though. Every last player on the team has to kind of be right at the top of their game, no matter what they're doing, setting the clutch, getting the horsepower ready. Certainly, you behind the tree, behind the wheel, and looking at the Christmas tree, hitting that reaction time. But man, oh man, it's ridiculously tough. What are some of the settings? Is a little bit as like a maybe not the wheelie bars aren't set right, or maybe is it? I don't know if you want to give away any secrets or anything, but what has been some of the challenges you've had?
Uh, I mean, it could be all kinds of stuff. We got to have more power. That really, you could let's put all the car stuff aside. We need more power. I
Got
mean,
it.
even when we make our best run, we hadn't qualified number one or run right at the top of the pack. I mean, we got decent power, but we ain't got. Greg Anderson power. No,
Right,
nobody has that right now. I know we're working real hard at it, and I know Elite Camp used to be the top dogs right now, and I know they're working real hard at trying
right.
to get back there. And I don't know, there's something Greg and them have found that they got the power, but as far as setup wise, I don't know, it's a little bit of mixture of things. These things are so finicky. Sometimes you might get a little lost on your gear setup, or maybe the way you're setting your clutches up. You got books and books of notes, and even then, sometimes you can get off on something completely different. Sometimes it takes somebody on the team to go, "Hey, whoa, we gotta stop and remember, we did this here and this was working." So, you know,
Right.
you just gotta trust your notes, trust what you know, and you know, if it works, it works. If it's not enough, well, then I guess we gotta, go back and work on it.
God, it is easy, isn't it, to kind of lose the combination, which is an old racer term, goes back to 50 years or so I've been following. Because it's not magic, right? It's a finicky, as you say, combination of a bunch of different factors to get these things to run right, especially at NHRA Pro Stock. And if one thing's off, that's the thing. It's a system, right? One thing's off, then nothing else maybe works the way you want it, and you have to kind of calibrate it all to work together. Pretty amazing. Can you share who, are you leasing motors now or who's building your motors for you?
I don't know. We're all in-house. And ever since we
Wow.
started in Pro Stock, we started in 11 or 12. It's either one of those 2 years. And we started with our own program, and we had a Dodge. And I guess originally it was being done with David Nickens, and
Hmm.
he's been very, very successful. And
Right.
we got into Pro Stock with him, and they were doing the engines down there in Houston, and with the Dodge deal. And he had ties with the Dodges many,
Right.
many years ago. So that he led us to that direction. We ran the Dodges for a few years, and or we worked with David, and then we ended up bringing all of our stuff down here to Odessa. And we already had an engine, I guess, kind of an engine shop. My dad, he's always messed with engines, and there's
Hmm.
been a race car shop, and he's always had something he's piddled with. And then, like I say, we moved the Dodge stuff down here and started up pretty much our Pro Stock operation and worked on that for a few years. And then we bought Mike Edwards out when he got done,
Got
and
it.
that's how we tamed all of our Chevrolet stuff. And we've acquired some more blocks and heads and various parts over the years. But pretty much ever since we ran Pro Stock, we've always been all in house, and it's a never ending deal.
Got it. Mike Hedges is a great world champion. Tough, tough, tough guy out of Oklahoma. For many years, I watched him in C Super Modified way back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
But that's great. Well, there you are, 400ths away from the multi-time world champion and current sort of class leader in terms of horsepower, and you're doing it in-house, which is pretty awesome. Well, let's talk about the family. I mean, you come from a racing family, of course, and fans often see multiple familiar names in pro stock. What's it like racing with and sometimes against family members at this level?
It's great. It's just that's all I've ever known is going to the racetrack. And I don't know if there's a picture or not, but I know my parents told me when I was only like a few months old, we were at Vegas for one of the races, and I don't even know how it all transpired, but somehow John Force was standing like wherever this little group of people was at, and I guess he saw me, a little baby, and he just, oh man, I gotta hold this little baby, and just I gotta hold this kid. This is what it's all about. They said it was something along those lines, like, "Oh, this is what it's all about." And I've always been at the races ever since I was a little kid, and like were mentioning earlier, family deal. And Dad always raced, had the juniors when that first started up, and
Right.
so he got to go through that. And my granddad, he was always into cars and hot rodding and working at a mechanic shop, and just just one thing after another. All of us keep building on it.
Well, that's outstanding. I bet you'd pay good money for that photo right now with John Force holding. Do your folks have a photo? Did they grab a photo at the time?
That's why I don't know if there was a photo or not, but they've always told me that story.
Uh-huh.
So that's a pretty cool deal.
It sounds about right. Don't know John well, but known him for, I don't know, what's the 80s? What's today? It's been a while.
Yeah,
Um, so
many,
great. Well,
many moons.
many moons yet. Well, how did that family dynamic and the great history, how's that help you behind the scenes? Does it make things easier or harder, do you think?
I guess it de depends what day it is. Sometimes I'd say it's easier, and then sometimes you're like ready to get everybody in a chokehold. But no, I think it's good, because I feel like we all respect each other and know where each other came from, and it's a family deal, so we all want the best interest for each other. Where, if it was just a group of random people for a corporate team, sometimes one person might be looking for the best interest of themselves. So, you know, we're all looking for, you know, the best interest of just the family. And, you know, we're not we're not going to jeopardize that.
Right. Yeah, you can't get away from them. You better better work well with them.
Right.
That's that's really good. Well, folks, we're here with Mason McGaha, NHRA Pro Stock Racer. Be sure to subscribe to our channel for these kind of interviews and also some great how-to videos coming up in the next couple of weeks. Well, Mason, looking back over the last few NHRA seasons, what's a race or weekend where you felt you really took a step forward as a pro stock driver?
Mm, I don't know. You mentioned earlier, like reflecting on the past season and talking about we hadn't ran good, and I feel like I hadn't drove nearly as well these last few years as I had at the beginning. And uh, I don't know. I like last year when we went to the finals at Brainerd. I don't know. We were one of them weekends just struggling, wasn't running good, couldn't get down the track. Some of the runs, it was just all around bad, and it got to where we were at the last qualifying session, Q4, and I think it rained, and they sent fuel out in front of us because they got to run fuel just for the show.
Hmm.
And it was like, oh, and there was no lights at Brainerd, and it was like, yeah, it's gonna get too dark, it's gonna get too cold. We're not gonna get to make it. We're not qualifying. And somehow, some way, we were able to get in or go up there and make a run. And I mean, it was about as dark as you could get before it was like, oh, we gotta cut. I mean, it was close. And I remember that I hadn't cut good lights, and I went up there and I was like, well, I mean, it's a qualifying run. If you go red or you're late, I mean, it don't matter. You
Hmm.
just gotta get a run. But I was like, if I do qualify, I need to be ready for race day. And I was just like, I just don't even worry about it. Just lay it out there. Don't even think about it and make a run. And I can't remember the light, but I remember it being something good. And we ended up getting in on the 16th spot,
Wow.
and then turn around on race day and had to run number one qualifier. And I was the same way. I was like, oh, well, this is a bonus because we weren't even qualified at this time yesterday. And I had like, I think that one was like a 19 or an 18 light. I remember that one being
Nice.
pretty good. And won on a hole shot. I think I won by 1,000th. I can't
Wow.
remember, but it was very, very close. And that whole day, I was just nailing the tree. So I guess it's just I know if I don't overthink it and you just go up there and do what you're supposed to do, and I know I can cut good lights, then you can drive away. Because I ended up going to the final that day, and I mean it's always Max Verstappen said it if we wouldn't have shook there in the final, I was 11 and Dallas Glenn was I don't know it was like 60 something. I mean I had like 5+ hundredths going by the
Right.
tree, but we shook and ended up, ended up not winning, and so it's just like I say, if I go up there and just don't overthink it and do what I can, obviously I could drive the car to where maybe overcome the horsepower loss to potentially win.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So I love that that you kind of it seems like if you just relax and let it flow with your driving, that's one thing, right? And the other thing is I wonder if the weather caught up to your tune-up, on the last qualifying session. Pretty great because it's always cooler and
Oh
moist
yeah,
air and you man, it's you never know, right? It's
you don't.
because that's the thing that people, folks that in the sport know it very well, but folks who are not very clear, very close to it. It's you're not only fighting your own setup, that's the chassis, the motor, the driving, everything to do with the car, but you're also fighting the track setup, how good each track is, and all NHRA tracks
Right.
are pretty darn good. but every track has its own idiosyncrasies. And then you've got the weather, and especially with pro stock with naturally aspirated motors, the weather is huge, especially with NHRA Pro Stock. And so it's just this continual combination of changing circumstances you have to deal with. And man, and the fact that you guys do as well as you do against all these odds and all these folks have been doing it for decades, um, pretty amazing. But that sounds to me like a great race. I mean, I think you answered the question right there. And so that's, I mean, that's a final round in any trade pro stock is pretty darn good, by golly.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
let's talk about some folks, for racers. And this is kind of for folks who always want to add like a learning question out there for racers listening who want to move up to this high dollar, high precision class like pro stock, or maybe even one of the higher sportsman racers. What's one skill they should start developing now, long before they ever get there?
Get to like pro stock.
Yeah.
I think you said in your question high dollar, and there's kind of, I would say, I guess maybe two avenues that are kind of popular or the obvious ways to go in pro stock. Either you're seeing people like you've seen Greg, he worked for WJ all them years and just he was just involved in working
Right.
and ended up, he was testing behind the scenes when they would go test, from what I understood, Warren wouldn't go test. He would tell everybody else to go test the car. And you've seen that now kind of with Dallas. He was behind the scenes always working there when Greg's been driving and they've been able then, they I guess had the hands-on experience behind the scenes and then at some point got the high money sponsorship guy or investor or whatever to then allow them to do it. Where then I guess the other way could be you've seen some people just show up out of nowhere and race, and that's because I guess they've worked hard in their business ventures and
Right.
whatever it may be. They just worked hard business wise and they wanted to run pro stock, and now they got all this money to go race. So either way, if you want to work hands on a team or figure out something business wise to go make the money, you just you got to go work hard some way somehow, and you'll eventually maybe find your way in it.
That sounds great. Yeah, I come couple folks coming to mind. I won't mention them, but there have been some big dollar guys over the last even 10 years who came on and made a big impact, right? But I guess how do you it seems that, how do you set up? There's only so many people who can really do this well. I guess maybe those guys would come in and lease the motors, lease a combination perhaps, and until such time that they were able to pull their own, you know, uh, garages together to make it happen. But this is a pretty elite group of folks in the world who to get one of these cars into one of those 16 car fields. And so you can't just do it with money, it seems, but a lot of grit and a lot of determination though.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And that's the hard part is just sticking with it and keep running your car and keep going because most people would probably run a year and maybe qualify one race and
Hmm.
to hell with this. I don't want to stick with this.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, let's talk about the perfection of the pro stock cars. Everything has to be right. We've talked about that a lot. And you as the driver, we've talked about the setup, clutch management, but how do you communicate with the crew? Are you able to feel when something's not quite right? I know you guys do use computers. Maybe tell us a little bit about that as well. But between your seat of the pants feel for what's going on, plus the computers, kind of walk us through what you look at after a run to communicate to the crew what we might need to do a little bit to get a little quicker or get off the line faster.
Yeah, so when I first started driving, I was just I was just a dummy. I was just I mean it took me a while to finally learn how to drive and then once I could hold the clutch pedal down, on the starting line and shift the gears and just make a run. It was like, oh, okay. I mean, to be honest, I was just driving. I didn't really know a whole lot what was going on inside. I mean, there was a few things I'd be like, ah, that didn't seem right, or I felt this. But over the last few years, like, uh, gotten more of a feel for like how heavy or light the clutch pedal is. Excuse me.
Mhm.
And feeling like, oh, there's a lot of clutch on this, and that feels pretty good, or like feeling like, I mean, it's just feels light and like there's nothing hooked up, and you can see that also on the race pack and see, if it's locked down to the motor or if it's breaking it loose real hard and not really grabbing it, and you know getting two verifications for one thing, and that's something I've gotten more of a feel for here in the last few years that I didn't really realize what was going on when I was first learning how to drive, and even when I first was going the first few years, I was like, oh well, I didn't think much of it, but
Mm.
Dad's explaining to me more like, oh hey, that's what this means, and that's how this feels, and I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Great. So you're able to take kind of the computer readouts and correlate those to what you were feeling during the run and get
Mhm.
that evidence is what you're saying. Really cool. Well, and you're getting there, man. So that's how all these other guys started. Now, Greg Anderson's got about 40 years on you, I think.
Oh yeah,
So,
he's got way more runs than I do.
yeah,
I got some catching up to do.
yeah, you'll get him one of these days. But
Yep.
well, you've been around this class, a couple years now, and you see how quickly it evolves. What's changed the most in pro stock over the last couple seasons that the average fan may not realize? Because cars all sort of look the same, but what's underneath the skin? What has changed the most in your opinion? One or two things.
Yeah, I guess like you say, the cars looking the same, and I know it gets coined Pro Camaro, and oh, it's just a Pro Chevy show. I mean, I've read all the names on the internet. I've seen them all, and I don't think what people totally understand is just, I guess the Camaro's the most available body. Like, I mean, if you wanted to build it, and not even a pro stock car, a pro mod or a top sportsman car, just any tube chassis car, a Camaro is going to be the easy way to go. I mean, I'm sure, you could probably, Jerry Bickle or Haas or any of them. Oh, I need a body. The Camaro's kind of going to be the easiest one for them to get ordered, and they probably
Mhm.
got some of them just sitting there. So it's just, I hate seeing that's just, oh, Pro Camaro, Pro Camaro, Pro Camaro. Like, we didn't really create that environment. That's just how it's kind of evolved. And of course,
Right,
before, the recent years, they've had the whole, you had to have the same make engine and body. And then
right.
they lifted that to hopefully maybe kind of change that, which didn't really work out. And I mean, really, to be honest, outside of a Camaro, what are you going to, because we only got like a handful of bodies we can run. Well, you
Right,
can't run a Corvette. I don't
right.
I don't think. I mean, that
Nope.
one's approved. You got a Mustang, and I'm not a Mustang guy. I'm a Chevy guy anyway, so I'd be running a Chevy whether this was a issue or not. And then what's the Dodge? A Dart? I
Oh,
mean
what is the latest and greatest? I guess a Dart. They change every couple of years on what it is. It's been a Stratus, a Dart,
yeah,
this or that, but
the Avenger. That's what it was
Avengers
when
for a
we first
while.
started running, and just and to me they hadn't really been super appealing body styles as far as the Dodge go. They never did like a
Right,
Challenger or a Charger.
right.
So really, you're kind of limited on bodies, and just I don't know. I mean, I get the frustration that it's just one manufacturer. I mean, I'd agree. I'd like to see, you know, you know, 10 Fords out there, 10 Chevys, and 10 Dodges, and 10 somebody, a Toyota or
Yeah,
whoever wanted to jump on board. I mean, that would be awesome, but that's just not the era we're living in. The manufacturers don't even really seem to really want to invest in pro stock anymore,
right.
like they used to. So it's just, I don't know. I don't feel like us as the racers and the teams chose for this to happen. That's just kind of the hand we've been dealt, and so I guess that kind of frustrates me when I see them complaining about that, and like it kind of like it's our fault, and or even NHRA's fault. I mean, maybe a little NHRA's fault. Maybe they needed to do better at keeping the manufacturers uh, interested, but I don't know that the manufacturers also got their own ideas that they want to do, and they could have left probably anyways, even with or without NHRA's help.
Right, gotcha. Well, what I worked with Phil Burgess at National Dragster, the editor there, a couple of years ago. I don't remember exactly what month it was, but he did a pro stock issue and he asked me to go to the drag lists and count up the number of bodies. and we did a big list. It's in one of his columns where we talked about, X number of Camaros, X number of Mustangs, whatever. And by far, throughout all eras, not just now, the Chevy Camaro has been the top pro stock body choice by a country mile. I mean, it's not even close. So, I mean, it's just the way it is. Of course, Camaro, it's been around. Well, Mustang's been around the whole time almost as well. But yeah, it's not just now, but they
Yeah,
are pretty dominant now.
when this wasn't even my era, or right before I was born. Like I watched a lot of old stuff, and in the '90s, that was when the Oldsmobile Cutlass was
Right,
popular. But then you also had a Pontiac Firebird and a
right,
Pontiac and Chevy Camaro. But
right.
really, that was all GM stuff. It was just
Yeah,
at that time there was a few other GM bodies. Like I'd like to see maybe if you wanted to have something like that now, do like a Cadillac, whatever it's called, the
yeah,
CT5 or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
do that. But I don't know, people would probably still find a way to complain like, oh, well, it's
yeah,
still a Chevy engine underneath. It's the same engine. I want to see a different engine. So
yeah.
I don't know. People are going to complain. You could try to shake things up, but I don't know.
Not for nothing. There used to be a Cadillac Eldorado Pro Stock. Did you ever see a picture of it?
I
It's
don't
out of
think I've seen a
Florida.
picture of that.
It's called Beyond Criticism. It was a root beer brown Eldorado. It wasn't, I don't know if it even ever qualified, but it was fun to watch. A guy named Tim Cash. And anyway, so cool. Well, let's talk about every racer. We'll do one more question, then we'll go head into the chat bleachers there, the Dina Parisi chat bleachers. Dina Parisi, she's a world champion NHRA Pro mod racer. She calls chat lines the chat bleachers, which is so perfect. We had to steal that and name it after her. But before we go there, every racer's someone's pushed him to get better. Who's challenged you the most? Someone inside or outside your family? And I guess I might know the answer here, but has it been inside or outside your family? And what makes you think they pushed you the most?
Oh, I would say, just I guess my whole family in general, but my dad and my granddad and my
Ding,
dad,
ding, ding. That was my guess.
yeah, he's been pushing real hard to try and get me away. He's pretty much said like, I mean, he wants to win too. He's been running and he's
Right.
trying to get back to his success he had the last years before I started running, and I want to see him win too. I mean, it's been a long time coming just for our team in general, but he's made it clear like, hey, we're trying to get the blue car win. I mean, we've been
Mhm.
especially at this point now, we've gone so long doing this. I'm not trying to sound arrogant. I would have thought by now we would have won, especially how we started, and like I said earlier in 20 and 21, we were running pretty good and winning a lot of rounds. I would have thought, oh, in 2026 we'd have probably had, a handful of wins by now, but we hadn't, and it was just that's been our main objective is get the blue car and win. But I mean, if Chris went out there at Gainesville and won, I would be ecstatic, especially
Mhm.
as long as of a drought we've been. I would just be ecstatic. That's all I can say.
Heck yeah, all for one for all.
Yep.
It's gonna come, man. You almost got it. What it was Brainerd, right?
Yes, Brainerd in 23 or 24. All my years are coming together.
Now, imagine what it's like for us old guys. It's really
Right.
well. Let's
They tell
go
me
to the.
don't get old.
Yeah, that's right. No, that's it. I don't think old. That's the thing. Gotta act like a kid. Well, let's go to the chat bleachers and see what's going on out there. John, what's happening, sir?
We have a real nice group of people here, and I have a question for Mason. I was going to ask you, can you tell us what your best ET in miles per hour is so far?
I'm not 100% sure on mile an hour. I'd say to 11 or 12. But earlier last year in Gainesville, we went 650 with the five. So I hadn't gotten in the elusive 640 club yet. We keep every year we go to Gainesville. It seems like it's really good air. Of course, being at the beginning of the year, it's good air like that, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna finally go 40s this weekend, and we hadn't been able to do it.
That's cool, man. Rich Panicaro said it's nice to see a father and son racing. And he said, conquering the weather is the most important part of drag racing. He said, ask me how I know. But we know, Rich. That was great, man. And Rob McCabe said, yes, the McGaha's doing it their way against the KB Titans and elites of the pro stock ranks. And we're all behind y'all 100% for what you're doing. Kira Steinbach made a couple of comments. She said, this is awesome and excitement. And we're caught up for the moment.
Sounds good. So everybody's chatting among themselves and having a good time. That's okay. Well, guys and gals, get any questions that you have, if you have any. And John, if someone comes up with one, just pop a hand up or something. We'll stop and go. But appreciate you, sir.
Well, Rob just said also Mason Racing Pro Stock and also BA Comp on a couple of occasions.
Awesome. Well, tell us about that. Rob is our research editor here at Dragler, so he knows all the good stuff. Tell us about racing and sportsmen here and there.
Yeah, so before we ran Pro Stock, Granddad Lester and Father Chris, they ran Comp Eliminator for years and years and years and years. I mean, I think Lester ran it all the way probably back in the 80s. And so when I was a little kid growing up, before we ran Pro Stock, all I knew was Comp Eliminator. That Comp Eliminator is my class, and never won a race in comp. And we were okay-ish there in comp for a while, and just ran various classes in comp. C altered, D altered, F altered, I altered. Just many of the altered classes. We had a GTO as actually an old Mike Edwards car,
Mm-hmm.
and we did engines for ourselves in comp. And like I was saying earlier, Chris always piddling with engines. We had various engines, so like I say, ran all the various altered classes, trying to just get in different weight per cubic inch categories, whatever you could come up with. So it was just I was always fascinated with that, just all the different combinations you could do in comp, and got to run a or right before we ran pro stock, we were getting pretty close to winning a race in comp. And the last race Chris ran in comp, he runnered up at a rain out makeup race at the Houston Divisional, and I think we spun the tires or whatever, and
Yeah.
he still ran out, and the other guy was able to cut him in down there and keep a fender on him, and we didn't win. But it was like, oh man, we're gonna win one of these comp races. And shortly after that, we got the deal to go run at Indy with Richard Freeman, or I think we'd ran that a few months before then. But it's like, oh, we got ready to start doing that Dodge deal and run Pro Stock. And it's like, oh, we're gonna do that, and we're not running comp no more. And I was like, what do you mean? We were about to win a comp race. Now we got to start all over again. So
I
I
hear
had
you.
that shelved, and as either I think it was 2022, we decided to run comp and run A altered. You can do that with a Pro Stock card. Just put A altered on the door, and you're like 500 pounds overweight for the weight per cubic inch, but you just go up there and you can pretty much test if you want. And that's what we utilized it for, is to test. But it was also like, here, you'll get a chance to run comp, and had some fun with that. But then we decided to do a real dedicated comp car, and we took one of our other pro stock cars, but did a B altered motor. And all you do for that is just de-stroke one of your pro stock motors and make it a 450. And that was a pretty good that one's a pretty good player. And we actually did some for some other B altered guys like Steve Graham. We did his motor that way. He had a 500 and wanted to do more comp racing. Just he didn't want to fight with the pro stock deal, and wanted to have something to have a chance to compete and win in. And so did that for him so he could run comp, and he's run really good with it. And uh, did it for some other customers, the Brewers out of California, the same San Francisco area, and Mike Dahl, and I'm sure I'm forgetting maybe one or two others, but done various people have run B altered planetary. Roger Brogdon, we did
Right.
some for him, so we're kind of invested in the whole B altered deal, which, like I said, it's just a pretty much a pro stock motor, and you just de-stroke it. But then at the same time, we wanted to get on it, so we ran it earlier this year at the Dallas Double, and as well as the national event. And it was a pretty good player.
That's great. Yeah, that's something we never really hear is the how the altered classes relate to pro stock. And you taught me more just then. Not that I didn't ask it of anyone before. You told me more than I ever knew about that. So that's great. and it seems like he can play. Yes, sir, John.
Yeah, we just had a question come in from Kay Thurkelson, and she asked what your thoughts are on the IHRA. And another question, but I'll leave you with the
Oh,
IHRA question for the moment.
Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, obviously, if anybody can come and put up the money like he's saying he can put up, and buy up the tracks and help revive it, because I went on like Topeka. I
hmm
loved going to Topeka. We ran there when we ran comp. We'd go to Topeka, and so that one, when we lost Topeka from the NHRA circuit, that one kind of stung a little bit. So seeing like he able to bring that track back, and from what I understand they're gonna race there towards the end of this season, which uh I don't think they're having normal 500-inch pro stock, so I don't know how we would fit in. But just seeing that the track's revived in general, that's a good deal. And if he can do any good for the sport, and whether it's NHRA, IHRA, just the general bracket race or whoever, that's a good deal in my book.
Yeah, man, I agree. She also asked if you'll be running the full NHRA schedule.
Yeah, we plan on running the full schedule right now. I know like last year we took a few races off. Just I was trying to finish up going to school or going to college,
Uh-huh.
and had some business deal. We just felt like we weren't running super good, and felt like it was better to skip a few races. They were more out of the way, in like the eastern part of the country, and just didn't feel like it was worth it with the way we were running. And like I say, I could get my focus more on my school right here towards the end. I graduated last month from engineering school, so finally I don't have to put up with that no more. I can focus totally on pro stock. And uh, yeah, we're playing to answer your question. Right now, we plan yes to go to all of them, but if we don't run super good and they're not super close races, I don't know. We'll sit at home and work on our stuff and try to make it where it is worth it.
That's great, man. You're a busy guy. She said a big thank you for being so kind to her at the U.S. Nationals.
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah.
Appreciate anybody who comes up and wants to talk.
Well, it's great to have you on, that's for sure. And so I mean, you mentioned that some of the distant race. What's probably the most distant race for you? Would it be, say, Seattle, or would it be like, they're running my home track about 12 miles down the road here at Maryland International Raceway in May? I don't know. I wondered if we might see you there.
It's either Seattle or Epping. I'd have to punch it in, but it's easily one of those two, just because it's so far
Right.
in the corners. And what's funny is how we've won those two races before, and it's like those are the furthest tracks from our house, and we've won those, but never won Dallas or Houston. Or I guess the close one was Phoenix, and we always went to Phoenix running comp. And
Hmm.
so when we won that one felt pretty good, being that it was kind of like a home game for us a little bit.
Made you work for it a bit. It
Oh, they definitely
made
made us work for it.
made you travel. Well, I know a lot of people taking care of you. You mentioned the family, but you got a couple of minutes to maybe give some shout outs to some of your sponsors or some of the other folks that helped you along and continue to help you.
Yeah, anybody that helps us out, I guess. I know, like I can see in the little background picture y'all got. I have you can't really read it. It's a little blurry, but fog it, little fogging lubricant that you spray down like your engine when you're done. At the end of the day, you spray it in your engine and roll the motor over, and it'll help keep your cylinder walls all lubricated and uh, prevent it from rusting up. Like typically, people use like or before we got fog it, we use like WD-40 just to help keep it from rusting up and lubricate it overnight. And the people at Foggett, specifically, we deal with Greg Boutte out of California. He's a good friend of ours. He also has a super comp car, and he's great to deal with. Great guy just to talk to. And so they're always good. They give us product, and I love using stuff. I always tell them there's also Gary Stennon's involved with it. You know who Gary Stennon is? He's involved with the Foggett deal, and I told him before. He's oh, it's the stuff. Is it good? You got any problems? I'm like, oh, it's like what's that? The Frank Red's. Frank's Red Hot, that hot
Right.
sauce. And, oh, I put that shit on everything. I tell everybody that's what I use and fog it for. Oh, hey, I can use this to lube this up or whatever, and I'm just spraying on whatever. So I mean, I love using that stuff.
I
I
love it.
I'm trying to think. VP, they're our fuel supplier for Pro Stock, but we had a good relationship with them and got a relationship with LAT Oils. We use their oils. It's good oils, and we've been using those for the last few years. We had some trouble with some other oils and got on their oil, and it's been pretty good for us. And I'm sure I'm missing some others, but those are the ones that come up at the top of my head.
Sounds great. And it's always good to hear the smaller companies that you don't get to hear. And I'm sure we'll get those names out there. What about the name on the door there? Harlow Salmons, is it? What was that? And I may be saying that wrong. I'm going from memory because I'm not quite able to read that myself from here. But who are those folks and what do they do for you?
I guess I should have. I messed up. I forgot to mention the biggest partner, but
Well,
so
that's what I'm here for. I'm here to take care of you, buddy.
right. So Harlow Salmons is our main oil field business. And so we've got Southwest Performance. It's on the back tire or right above the back tire, I
Hmm.
guess. And there's performance and machine. And I always say there's two parts of there, the performance and the machine. You got the performance part, which is the race car shop and engine shop and you know all the stuff that doesn't make any money. And then you got the machine part, and that's the machine shop that builds all kinds of oil field equipment parts that go onto the stuff that Harlow Salmons builds, and that builds different units like cementers and power swivels and just all the kinds of equipment that goes out to the field for the oil field.
So it's like Tonka trucks for adults, it sounds like.
Yeah,
Sounds like
that's a good way to put it. Yep.
fun stuff to play with. Well, as we watch you go into the 2026 season, Mason, where can folks follow along with Mason McGaha and your racing efforts? Got some online or social media? Where can we go?
So we got a Facebook, an Instagram. I believe it's just those two, and I'm pretty sure like the Facebook, it's Mason McGaha, and I know there's two Facebooks, and there's one that's like there's a page, and then I guess you got like a personal account. I got people all the time friend requests, and I'm bad about accepting friend requests on the personal one. That's just my one to get on Facebook
That's
and
fair.
read all the news and drama and what have you. But there's a dedicated page that has actual posts and uh, updates and everything, and that's the one you need to go follow. They kind of look similar because they both got my face, and I think in both of them I'm wearing a fire suit, but it's whatever one has probably a post from uh, within a week at least. I can't remember when we've last posted, but yeah, make sure you go follow that one. Don't friend request the other one because,
Okay.
like I say, I might accept it in a day. I might accept it a month from now. I don't know. I get on there just to see all the drama and news that's going on so I can stay up to date. But then also got an Instagram, and there should just be one of those because it's been just all bundled into one account. And
Is that
that one's pretty
under
easy to find.
Mason
So I think
McGaha as well?
yes, that one should just be
Awesome.
Mason McGaha. I don't think there's any underscores or letter or dots or numbers or anything. It should just be Mason McGaha.
That sounds great. Well, I'll make myself a mental note and we'll put that URL of your Facebook page down in the notes so folks can follow along after we get done. But
Yes.
oh my gosh, it's been great to visit with you. Let's check in with your fellow techs in there for a moment. John, any final thoughts from Mason, from you or from the gang out there?
Yes, Doug just asked. Doug's Speed Shop is with us tonight, and he said to ask Mason what he thinks about Nostalgia Pro Stock, where it all started.
I guess that's kind of interesting. Some of the videos with the nostalgia stuff, and that's that's pretty cool. I guess it's never interested me because if you had to go backwards, you got to run a carburetor and all that older technology, and I'm too new school and never ran a carburetor, and I don't really want to ever have to think about running a carburetor. I have very bad uh, memories with the carburetor because the only thing I have ran with a carburetor was a junior dragster, and me and my dad had nine kinds of hell running our junior dragster because it was always misfiring or doing this or that and never could just get a consistent deal on it. And we changed jets left and right and doing this and that. And that junior dragster just, it ate our lunch. And I didn't really know much at that time, the difference between carburetor and fuel injection or whatever. I was like, I want to drive a junior dragster. And I tell you what, I can't wait till you're 16 so we can get rid of this carburetor and we can run something that's fuel injected. I was just like, oh, okay. But now I'm a little bit my older age. I'm like, oh yeah, I agree 1000%. I'm all about the fuel injection.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, Mason McGaha, the only guy who went from junior dragsters to pro stock so that he has something easier to tune. I love it.
Yeah.
Mason, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure talking to you tonight. Best of luck in your 26th season. My regards to the family, and we'll see you somewhere down the road.
Yes. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for having me on. Hope to see y'all at a track somewhere.
We'll see you somewhere. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Mason McGaha, good night, sir.
Yes. Good night. Thank you.
And we'll say farewell to Mason. He was so awesome. Let's turn it over to JB. John, take it away. John's bracer of the week and JB's take.
Thanks, BP. My pick for Racer of the Week is Butch Hill from Baldwin, Missouri. I was intrigued by Butch's drag racing and his diversified talents and interests, and I'm proud to feature him tonight. He sent me a fantastic story. The history of the Hill Boys' 1953 Studebaker champion, Hemiroyd. The year was 1961, and this was the year Butch Hill was born. Butch's father, Don Hill, bought the 1953 Studebaker as a parts car for his Street 53 champion Studebaker. After pilfering all the parts Don needed off the Studebaker, one sunny summer day in 1963, Don and family was having a picnic at their house in Baldwin, Missouri. Don's brother Jack Hill was there, and the two of them were playing horseshoes. And Jack made a bet with Don that if he threw the next horseshoe as a ringer, Don would have to sell the Studebaker parts car for $25. Well, Jack did just that and handed over the $25 to his older brother, Don. You see, Don and Jack Hill were not just brothers, they were also a team together known as the Hill Boys Racing Team out of the Midwest. After the Second World War, the two of them started racing an open-wheel stock car. The Hill Boys were known coast to coast on dirt tracks and later asphalt tracks as a fierce competitor. It was their way of life. In 1963, by now, they were both racing open-wheel cars and anymore, and Jack had the need to play around with the 1953 Studebaker that he just bought from his brother Don. Jack decided to put a 392 Chrysler Hemi with two 4-barrels, a 727 TorqueFlite transmission that was all put into the stock Studebaker chassis. It had custom headers, an old rear end, ladder bars, and a 4-point roll cage. These were all added to it. The car was now ready to race, and the year was 1964. After a few runs, the Studebaker took a back seat. Just a few years earlier, Jack started a company called Precision Rebuilders, which is still in operation today. In 1972, Jack gave the car to his son Mike Hill on his 16th birthday. The car sat around for a few years, and in 1979, Don's son Butch Hill and Mike became partners and owners in the Studebaker. In 1990, Butch decided to sell out to Mike to build a 1939 Ford Coupe so they could race together. In the late 80s, during a race in Wentzville, Missouri at MAR Raceway, the Studebaker was having some troubles creating real horsepower. Well, Don Garlitz was at this race, and he took a liking to the car, and within 1 hour after sitting down with Big Daddy, he spelled out all the tricks to make the Hemi perform like it should. In 1992, the car was chopped. Later in 92, Jack Hill lost his battle with cancer. In 1994, both Mike and Butch willed their cars to another to one another to make sure they stay in the Hill family. In 1995, Golden Hawk fins were added to the car. 1997 came along with a new paint scheme from red to the blue purple with flames. In 2006, the car was awarded DuPont's Paint of the Year for the nation. In 2007, Don Hill lost his life to a stroke. Excuse me, y'all. To a stroke. And in 2009, Mike Hill lost his battle of 4 years with cancer. In 2012, Butch willed the Studebaker to his children, Cameron and Caitlin Hill, to once again keep it in the family. Today, Butch Hill is still racing the car in the NDRL Racing League, and the car is considered the world's quickest all-steel 1953 Studebaker. The car weighs in at 3,200 pounds and is still running a 392 Hemi. Although it does not run a steel block anymore, the aluminum Donovan motor from the 60s puts out 1,100 horsepower and 1,092 foot-pounds of torque. Sitting on top of that Donovan is a 671 blower with a 4-port Hillborn injection running on alcohol. The car is still running a 727 TorqueFlite trans, a Ford 9-inch rear with 410 gears, and believe it or not, it is still running the same ladder bars that were built in 1963. It has no electronics other than a trans button. Even though this car looks like it is a fiberglass car going 200 miles an hour sitting still, this car is truly old school in its body and power plant. The body is original Studebaker steel, even down to the door hinges and steel chrome bumpers. Although Butch's 1939 Ford Coupe called Nostalgia, here are some things we may not know. Like most gearheads in Butch's age group, he took a particular liking to hot rods as a result of the influence of his father Don, who was known as the Hill Boys race team in the dirt and asphalt racing circuit. Although his involvement with hot rods came from his father, his mother Marilyn was one of his biggest supporters. Butch made frequent trips to the drag strips to check out what was running down the track. The look and power of these cars was something that intrigued him. Needless to say, he was always on the lookout for cool hot rods. Well, one day, in 1978, he was driving his 1967 Mustang Fastback through a neighborhood and noticed a coupe in someone's back driveway. Butch decided to stop, knock on the door, and ask if the car was for sale. The owner answered the door and agreed to sell it, and after a quick look over, the deal was done for $1,500. The next day, he worked on the coupe and got it running. He drove it home, he backed it into the driveway, and ran straight into his brother's car. The coupe's brakes had failed. After fixing the brake problem, it was time to tune up the carbureted 396 big block Chevy motor. The coupe came with a 4-speed transmission and a Pontiac rear end. Later, the Pontiac rear end was replaced with a Ford 9-inch that Butch narrowed down to 2 inches. In those days, you could head to the junkyard and grab a short side rear end axle pretty easily, making for a simple 2-inch narrowed rear end. The coupe was this way for about a year until he was at a dirt track race and saw some really big McCreary dirt track tires. At that time, street rods were not narrowed and tubbed, so he thought how cool it would be to stuff those big tires up under those rear fenders. Well, Butch made a connection with Mickey Thompson Tires, who was coming out with the widest DOT tire on the market, 33 by 21.5 by 15s, which, by the way, was way bigger than the McCreary tires. Because this was one of the very first cars in the country to run such a large tire, all tucked up under the car, Mickey Thompson sent Butch a pair of tires. Now the problem was that he did not have wheels wide enough to fit those new monster tires. Weld Wheels wanted to get on the bandwagon, and they sent a set of their new wheels at that time called Pro Stars. And these were some of the coolest wheels on the market. The coupe got completed with this setup. The motor was still the 396 big block Chevy, but the transmission changed to a 400 turbo. Butch wanted to put a supercharger on the car, but at a swap meet in the mid-90s, he spotted a new Crowler mechanical fuel injection intake. After buying this, it was time to figure out how to make it work on the street. Well, luckily, he had connections with a company called Speed Pro. You might know them today as FAST, F-A-S-T. Between Speed Pro, BDS, which is blower drive service, and Butch, they were embarking on the first multi-port EFI computer system conversion setup for the automotive aftermarket. After many months of work, they managed to figure out how to make it happen. Next, Butch headed to one of the first Good Guys events held at Indy. To put the final tune on the motor, Craig from BDS flew into Indy to hook up his computer and fine-tune this hot rod. And by the way, that tune-up is still working great. After all these years, the motor is now 100 cubic inches larger, making it a 496. It is still running the first aftermarket EFI computer and system. Bigger injectors were added, making it around 780 horsepower. Nostalgia has won many drag races and is very consistent with its quickest quarter-mile time of 9.73 and was featured on 2 Pink's All Out TV episodes. Now, on a side note, here's some information most people don't even know about EFI. In 1957, the American Motors Corporation outfitted the Rambler with an electronic fuel injection system by Bosch called the Electrojector on a 5.4-liter V8. Then in 1975, Cadillac Seville was equipped with an EFI system developed by Bendix. It very much resembled the Jetronic systems offered by Bosch. So the next time you hear someone question whether EFI is nostalgia, now you know the answer. Well, Butch, thank you for sending this great story. You're an awesome drag racer and a great person. At this time, I should point out that Butch Hill is the president of the Nostalgia Drag Racing League. And thanks to Kay Thurkelson, we have Butch scheduled to be a guest interview on the show for May the 11th. And we're looking forward to that great evening. And Butch, until then, we wish you good luck, safe racing, and the best of times in the future. Everybody stay safe and well. You are the most important part of this show, and we love you all. It's a great way to spend an hour together on a Monday night. Have a great 2026, folks. We'll see y'all next time. God bless America. Back to you, BP.
Thank you, John. Good stuff, man. That's an amazing racer of the week, and look forward to talking to Butch as he comes up.
Yes, he is an incredible guy, and it's a great story that he sent. Very detailed, precise, and fascinating, actually. He could write a book.
Sounds like we're on it. All right, thank you, sir. Hey, one thing we just want to say to everybody, happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. It's a holiday today for the feds, and you didn't get your mail and maybe didn't get your garbage picked up by the local guy, but it was worth it because he was a big influence on my life. I remember the day I remember that entire summer. I'm an inner city Cleveland kid, and it radically affected us all. But I encourage folks to go back and see the highlights, at least some of the speeches and what he aspired to and asked us to aspire to. I think it's where we need to go as a country. Anyway, happy Martin Luther King Day to all. I hope you had a great day. I'll talk about upcoming guests next Monday night. Chad and Hunter Green, the NHRA Top Fuel Funny Car dad and son combination. Looking forward to talking to them. And then John gave us our May 11th guest, but in the interim, here's our February guest, Luke Bocacchi, Vito Macholo, McKenna Bold, and Animal Jim Foyer. So looking forward to wrapping up January next week and then going into February. That's going to be amazing. Let's talk about those we lost, folks. Five names tonight, unfortunately. Hollis Collegier, super gas roadster racer out of California. We missed him last week, but he passed away on the 2nd of the year. Farewell to Hollis. I remember reading his name many times. On the 11th, we lost Mike Say, a really strong super stock and comp racer. In fact, Mike is on the drag racing list many, many times. And Rob McCabe today going back through those entries and making sure we had everything all covered for Mike. So farewell to Mike. And then I got this note from Top Fuel racer Frank Bradley. He said a very close friend of his died last week, Ms. Georgia Miller. She worked for Jim Tice at AHRA for 25 or 30 years, perhaps even longer. Georgia booked in the race cars, collected money at the gate, a really nice person. She personally knew an awful lot of racers and will truly be missed. We want to thank Frank Bradley, the Beard, for passing this on, and farewell to Georgia Miller, a part of that fantastic AHRA organization that we don't hear enough about these days. Thanks a lot, Frank, and farewell to Georgia. Jim Zane passed away on the 17th. He raced a number of sportsman cars, uh, BMX Open, a C super modified Camaro, a super stock truck most recently. Really, really great racer, very well regarded. And then finally, last but not least, Rich Amon, also on the 17th. Rich raced a G stock Eliminator Camaro. And our condolences to the family and friends of these great racers. Thanks for the thrills over the years, folks. Thanks for taking care of us in drag racing. And with that, John, I'll take it over to you for any final thoughts, and then we'll do a wrap, sir.
Well, it was just terrific having Mason McGaha with us. He's an outstanding young man, and I can see that his future is extremely bright. And with him living in the Permian Basin area, I think it was great to have him on the show. It was like having family with us tonight. Now, if I could take just a moment, I'd like to say something about Martin Luther King. Now, I grew up in a segregated society until I was halfway through high school, and the Civil Rights Act got passed, and they integrated our class, and they set us alphabetically. And the guy sitting in front of me had a name that was right before mine came up, and I was scared to death of this guy. I had never been around an African American in my whole life. And half of the class treated him terribly. They gave him racial slurs and threatened him and just went out of their way to make him as uncomfortable and as unwelcome as they possibly could. And I finally asked him about after a month. I said, "How do you put up with this?" And he turned around and he said, "I expected it." 2 years later, he was our class president. And he was one of the most outstanding young men I've ever known. And throughout my life, some of my best friends are African Americans, and almost all of them had a portrait of Martin Luther King in their house. And I respected that. I appreciated that. And so when Martin Luther King Day comes up, it means a lot to me. And I just hope that everybody can respect what this man did for our country. And I'm just proud of him. I'm proud to be with him, and I'm proud to be an American.
Amen to that. Thank you, John. I can't add into that anymore except to echo your thoughts about Martin Luther King Jr. Let's go ahead and do our wrap, folks. We want to thank Mason McGaha, who was a blast to talk to, John Bockelman, my brother, Kay Turkelson, Pete Mariello, Rob McCabe, David Oakes, Melba Shore, Ron Toombs, John Mernon II, and Jeff Gilder, who got us our start. Thanks in heaven to Danny White, the big man. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Hey, we're growing, folks. We'd like to grow a little bit faster. But by the way, I have to say, last week's show with the IHRA with Woody Woodruff, our biggest show ever. We basically 5 times our most popular show. So really, really great to have Woody on, and look forward to following along with IHRA this year, but of course with NHRA as well. There's power in numbers. Check in at draglaws.com every day to see what's new. You can find us on the Radio Bob Network. which showcases our shows. And finally, before I say farewell, we will see you on January 26th, next Monday night, for Chad and Hunter Green, the NHRA Fuel Funny Car family. Until then, folks, have an awesome week, and great to visit with you. Adios. Bye.